Sagittarius, 7 sacred gifts heaven has given you. The final chapter that could change your life forever. Have you ever felt as if your soul knew something long before your mind could understand it? As if there was a quiet calling that had always been present within you since ancient days, one that no words have ever been able to name? If you're a Sagittarius, or if there's a part of you that always looks toward the open sky, that feels you were born to live more, feel more, soar higher, then perhaps what you're about to hear today is not just a message. It is an awakening. A confirmation that you are not alone, and that you were right to trust that deep, quiet knowing inside you all along. In this very moment, as you are here, listening to these words, you may not realize it, but the universe has just opened a sacred gate for your soul. It is no coincidence that you're hearing this at this exact moment. It is the alignment of stars, of ancient light, of a divine plan that your heart agreed to long ago. And now, it's time to remember. And today, I will share with you the 7 sacred gifts that heaven has given to Sagittarius. Gifts that not only define who you are, but also act as a compass, guiding you back to yourself in a world that's constantly shifting. Each gift will unlock a deeper layer of understanding, a soul memory you may have forgotten, and a piece of destiny waiting for you to step into. If you stay until the end, I promise, you will see yourself in a whole new light. And perhaps, from this day forward, your life will never be quite the same. Because once you realize what has truly been given to you, you will no longer live under doubt or limitation. You will live with awareness, with light, with gratitude and courage. And if something just stirred within you, like a wave of warmth, like an unspoken confirmation, then I invite you to comment below this video, I am ready to receive my great destiny. It's more than just a statement, it's a way of signaling back to the universe that you are ready to enter the next chapter of your soul. And if you feel these words mean something to you, hit like and share this video with a friend. Because light, when it's shared, doesn't just guide others, it makes the flame inside your heart burn brighter than ever before. Have you ever wondered why in the same world, at the same time, some people only see darkness while you are able to notice a small glimmer of light, and somehow trust it completely, without knowing why? Since childhood, maybe you felt like you see the world as if you're holding an invisible map that no one else seems to know exists. Not in the sense of superpowers or being special. But this, where others see limits, you see potential. Where they see failure, you see a path for learning. Where they stop, you keep going. Maybe you've been called a dreamer, unrealistic, or even foolish. But in truth, it was never just dreaming. It was the very first gift that heaven gave to Sagittarius, the ability to see what hasn't yet happened. A vision that goes beyond limits. A kind of intuition that's hard to put into words, but that always burns softly within you like a guiding flame. You don't live to only see what already exists. You live to imagine what could become, if only we believe enough. Astrologically, this gift stems from Jupiter, the planet of expansion, of higher thought, of spiritual philosophy and faith. Sagittarius is the embodiment of a grand spiritual journey, always seeking new horizons, not only with your feet, but with your heart and mind. But that kind of vision can also be a burden. Because when you see too far, too wide, too deep, while those around you stay on the surface, you will feel alone. Maybe you've tried to share your ideas before, only to be shut down. Maybe you once believed in a dream and were laughed at. Maybe you saw growth where no one else did, but no one believed you. In those moments, it's easy to doubt yourself. To think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just imagining too much. But you're not wrong. You are simply carrying a gift so large, so powerful, that sometimes, it forces you to walk alone. That is the price of vision. But it is also what makes you a forerunner, a pioneer, someone who dares to believe in what does not yet exist. You're like a trailblazer, walking through lands no one has mapped, armed only with the compass of your heart. And no matter how many times you lose direction or fall, you never lose the ability to imagine a different world. That is your most precious quality. And it is something no one can ever take away from you. There's a deeply human lesson here. The ability to see potential is a gift meant to serve others, not to affirm who you are. You see the good ahead, not to separate yourself from the world, but to help the world rediscover hope. In a society swept up in doubt, negativity, and limitation, you are the one who can light the very first spark. And sometimes, all it takes is one person who believes to change an entire community. You don't need to wave banners. You just need to walk as if light truly exists beneath your feet. The way you live, the way you keep walking through uncertainty with eyes still full of hope, that is your loudest declaration of vision. The question is, how have you used that gift? Have you been nurturing it, or hiding it out of fear of judgment? How many dreams inside you once flickered, only to be extinguished by someone else's doubt? And how many of them are still waiting for you to return and finish what you started? I invite you to pause for a moment and truly listen within. Listen to the image that once stirred your heart but has since been forgotten. Listen to the thing you once wanted to do as a child, but set aside in the name of being realistic. And remember, you didn't see those things by chance. Your soul was designed to see what others overlook. Because you were chosen to carry that light back to the world. Leave a comment below. I believe in the light within me, even when others don't yet see it. Because that's more than just a statement, it's an act of reconnecting with the universal energy that's been guiding you all along. And if someone reads your words, maybe you'll awaken a gift within them that's been asleep. You know, in ancient astrology, Sagittarius is symbolized by the centaur, half human, half horse, whose arrow is always aimed at the sky. Never satisfied with what's already known, never willing to live small. You embody the eternal question, what else is out there? And because that question always lives in your heart, you never stop moving. You never settle for mediocrity. You never lose faith that somewhere ahead, something better is still waiting. That vision, though it may leave you lonely at times, is also what helps you live more deeply, more boldly, more inspired. And when you live true to that vision, you don't just make your life meaningful. You become a guide for those who haven't yet dared to begin. But to keep that light burning brightly, you need something more. Something that doesn't come from logic. Something no book can teach. Something that ignites inside you whenever you touch something that matters. Something that makes you not only see, but burn. And that is the second gift that heaven has given to Sagittarius. A gift full of fire, of passion, of inspiration, the kind that illuminates the path your vision has revealed. The fire of sacred enthusiasm. There's something beautiful about Sagittarius that not everyone notices. You're not just someone who sees far. You're someone who can set fire to spaces that have grown cold. Even when life feels dull. When those around you have surrendered. When hope seems thin. Just one spark of enthusiasm from you can shift the atmosphere of an entire room. And it's not mere cheerfulness. It's not hollow optimism. It is the fire of sacred enthusiasm, a gift that heaven placed directly into your heart. You may not even realize it, but every time you live with true passion, every time you speak something you deeply believe, every time you pour your soul into an idea, an action, a moment that truly matters, you shine in a way that no one can fake. That light doesn't come from skill. It doesn't come from knowledge. It comes from something purer. The connection between your soul and your purpose. In ancient Greek, the word enthusiasm, meaning passionate inspiration, comes from the root word entheos, which literally means to have a God within. And yes, every time you touch something that makes your heart tremble, You activate that divine energy inside of you. You become a source. A spark of motivation. A force that lights up every space you step into. This isn't just a personal trait, it carries immense social value. Because in a world where inspiration is easily lost, where people fall into mechanical, repetitive, lifeless patterns, those who know how to keep their fire alive are among the most precious sources of energy we have. You are one of the rare few who can transform the emotional state of a room simply by being fully present and true to yourself. No need for big speeches. You just need to show up, in the right way, at the right moment, with the right energy. And the world begins to change. I believe you've experienced this before. That moment when you speak just one sentence, and the room falls silent. When you encourage someone who's about to give up, and they take another step. When you bring belief into a situation just in time, and it shifts what felt like a dead end. You don't have to be a leader, a speaker, or a public figure to make that happen. You just have to be willing to live authentically, with the fire inside of you. But like all fires, this sacred flame of enthusiasm needs to be nurtured, protected, and guarded. There are far too many energy thieves in modern life. People, jobs, relationships that don't resonate with your soul, yet demand your presence. If you're not mindful, you'll find your fire slowly dimming, not because you've run out of energy, but because you've been burning in places that do not deserve your flame. So the life lesson that comes with this gift is this. Choose carefully where you burn. Don't pour your heart into things that don't touch your soul. Don't keep doing the right thing while slowly freezing inside. Don't let your sacred flame turn into ashes just because you've tried to fit into molds that were never yours. Live with the courage to choose again, to return to what truly makes you burn bright. Here's a gentle prompt. Write down the last moment that made you feel genuinely excited. It doesn't have to be big. Just real. Maybe it was a sudden idea. A moment you helped someone. A feeling that whispered, "Yes, this is me." Share that in the comments. And if you've ever felt your inner light flicker, just write one sentence. I return to the sacred flame within me. It's not just a statement. It's a call for your soul to come home to its center. Because when you live true to your inner fire, you're no longer just living for yourself. You become a spark that can ignite a generation. You are living proof that this world can be more alive, more inspired, a place where people don't just work to survive, but live to truly feel alive. And then, once you've developed this far-reaching vision, once your flame continues to burn, another gift naturally awakens. A gift not meant for those who are content with pre-packaged answers, but for souls who always ask deeper questions, who always seek what lies behind the veil of life. The gift of the eternal quest for truth. Some people live their whole lives in certainty. They need clear answers, numbers, defined rules. They feel safe in what has been confirmed, passed down, validated by the majority. But you, a Sagittarius, cannot live that way. Because your soul wasn't born to repeat. You were born to ask questions. Deep down, you've always known, something hasn't been said in full. There's a layer of truth that hasn't yet been uncovered. A depth of meaning that still has no name. And it's that feeling of incompleteness that drives you forward. You are a pilgrim of truth. A wanderer through realms of thought, belief, and intuition, not to prove anything, but to become more real, more alive, more human. For Sagittarius, truth is never a destination. It's a journey. Each time you think you've found an answer, your soul opens a deeper, more refined question. And that's not instability. It's a sign that you are still alive. That you haven't silenced the voice inside you. That you are still being honest with yourself, even when it sets you apart. This is one of Sagittarius's most beautiful, yet most challenging gifts, to never stop at what is obvious. In a world where people rush to label everything with definitions, assumptions, or common sense, you are the one who dares to look deeper, to ask one more question, to walk one more mile. And it's not always easy. Because when you begin to ask questions, you also begin to see things others have learned to ignore. You notice the emptiness behind social masks. You feel the exhaustion behind forced smiles. You hear the inner conflict in stories that seem fine. And you can't look away. You can't pretend not to know. That's why your quest for truth, though it may feel lonely at times, is exactly what keeps this world capable of honesty, healing, and change. Because people like you, those who cannot be lulled to sleep, are the ones who dare to keep truth alive. There's something important you need to remember. You don't always need to find the answer. Sometimes, the gift isn't in understanding, but in the ability to keep searching. Keep listening, keep walking. And that is a profoundly human quality. Because when you don't live under the illusion of knowing everything, you open your heart to others. You begin to listen. To see them. To feel them. And the world feels safer with you in it. I believe you've had moments like that. Moments when you've said, I don't know everything, but I want to understand more. And that honesty has created space for healing. For you. And for the one standing before you. You don't know how many hearts you've soothed simply by not judging. You don't know how many souls you've revived just by continuing to ask questions, when others had already stopped caring. And now, if you're in a season of uncertainty, unsure of your direction, don't rush to label it as being lost. Perhaps it's just an old layer of truth cracking open, making room for a deeper level of awareness to emerge. I want to invite you to write down a question, the one that's truly alive within you right now. It could be, what am I really living for? What is true in this relationship? What belief within me needs to evolve? Just one question, but let it come from the deepest, most honest place inside you. Then write it in the comments below. I allow truth to guide my soul. Because that's how you let truth enter, not through force or opinion, but through willingness. Please believe this journey is not in vain. Every step you take, every question you ask, every time you peel back a layer to get closer to truth, you're expanding awareness not just for yourself, but for the entire world. Sagittarius doesn't seek to become smarter. You seek to become more real. And when you live in that truth, even when it hurts, you'll discover a strange new strength. A light that doesn't come from happiness, but from wisdom. An energy not born from winning, but from the harmony between your mind and your soul. And then, from the deepest place of that honesty, a new gift will rise. A gift that doesn't come from thought, or from questions, but from the way you carry truth through your voice. That is the power of words that awaken the soul. There are moments in life when we don't need to be instructed, advised, or handed a perfect plan. We just need a word that touches the exact place where we've been aching. Just one sentence, and it's as if someone has named a sorrow we never knew how to explain. And from that moment, everything begins to shift. You, Sagittarius, carry that gift within you. The gift of words that awaken the soul. What you say, when it comes from that deep place inside, is not just information. It is energy. It is vibration. It is a call to the goodness sleeping inside others. I used to believe that powerful words came from eloquence, precise phrasing, or practiced delivery. But I've learned, the words that touched me the most, were never perfect. They were simply true. And that's the power you carry effortlessly. When you speak from a place of truth, no decoration, no performance, no intention to impress, people's hearts open. Because people can hear words with their ears. But only the soul can hear the frequency of sincerity. And you know this. Maybe you've said something in a moment that felt totally spontaneous, a piece of advice, a story, an offhand remark, only to hear later, "That was exactly what I needed to hear today." You didn't plan it, but your words awakened a part of their soul that had been forgotten. Astrologically, Sagittarius is known as the messenger of sacred knowledge, the one who channels inspiration through language. You don't speak to inform. You speak to illuminate, to unlock, to help others remember something they once believed, but somehow lost. Maybe you've wondered, why'd I still get misunderstood, even when I'm just being honest? That's because not everyone is ready to hear. But don't let that make you go quiet. Your silence could be a great loss to this world. The great lesson in this gift is: speak when your heart trembles for something. Don't wait until your words sound polished. Speak when you feel you cannot not speak. Because when your heart trembles, God is passing through you. And in those moments, you're not just speaking for yourself, you're speaking for those who've lost their voice. Remember, you don't just carry a voice. You carry a healing frequency. When you speak of the pain you've overcome, someone finds courage. When you share the truth you're living, someone suddenly sees themselves. When you speak something that seems small, but is spoken from awareness, it can rescue a soul on the verge of giving up. And you don't need a stage, a microphone, or a crowd. Sometimes, a quiet word in the kitchen. An honest message. A look paired with the words, "I see you." That alone can be a miracle. I want to invite you to ask yourself, when was the last time you spoke something from your heart? Are you holding inside a story, a truth, a feeling, that you know could bring healing if you dared to speak it? If so, start today. Write just one sentence below this video. I am ready to speak the truest thing inside me. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. Because the very thing you're about to say might be the only light someone out there is waiting for. And if someone's words once awakened you, share about them. Who were they? What did they say? Let your gratitude echo. And who knows, you may become that person for someone else. And then, you'll realize, your words aren't here just to make an impact. They're here to remind the world that people can still touch each other with truth. When you live that way, you don't just speak. You call people's souls home. And once your words carry that kind of power, you can no longer live in pretense with yourself. Because truthful words require a truthful heart. And that's when you step into the next gift, the deepest, most rare gift the universe has given you. Freedom as a state of the soul. There are things that, when taken from us, we can still survive. Like possessions, status, or the role society assigns us. But there is one thing, that if we lose it, even while we're still breathing, we're no longer truly alive. That is freedom. For Sagittarius, freedom isn't a choice. It is the original state of your soul. It's the sacred element that was written into you before you ever understood the word independence. You can love. You can commit. You can devote yourself, but if there's no room in that space for you to be fully yourself, you'll begin to wither. No matter how hard you try, how long you endure, your soul will quietly whisper, "It's time to go." And you know that. You know it so well that, often, you don't even need a big reason. You just feel it. A tightness in the chest. A quiet ache like you can't breathe. A soft, persistent nudge, be honest with yourself. It's not selfishness. It's not irresponsibility. It's the highest loyalty a soul can offer itself. And you, Sagittarius, are one of the rare ones who dare to live with that loyalty. Freedom, for you, doesn't mean doing whatever you want. Freedom is choosing to live true to your inner truth, even if that means going against the crowd. It means walking away from a stable job when it no longer speaks to your heart. It means leaving a relationship if it no longer reflects your authenticity. It means choosing the harder road, because you know that road leads you back to yourself. I once witnessed a Sagittarian friend stand between two choices. 1. A life of security, structure, and approval, but with a soul that felt empty. The other. A path with no name, no map, no certainty, but filled with real laughter, and the feeling of being fully alive. She chose the road no one approved of. But I've never seen her glow like that. Because true light only radiates from a soul that's living truthfully. That's the lesson you must always remember. Freedom doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from internal courage. And when you dare to live that way, nothing and no one can cage you again. Not expectations. Not judgment. Not even the promises you once made to yourself. Because you understand. Whatever you lose by living in truth, will be returned to you in something far more sacred. So if you're in a tight season right now, a job, a relationship, a habit, a way of life, ask yourself. Does this allow me to be who I am? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to step away. Not because you hate it, but because you've outgrown it. And if that's happening, write down a quiet affirmation for yourself. I allow my soul to be free. No explanation needed. No apology. Only honesty. Because then, you'll see. When you choose to live truthfully, even if the path is lonely, you will never lack light. Because in that moment, you are stepping into the next sacred gift. Your loyalty to the fire within. There's something very few understand about Sagittarius. You can travel far, change a lot, explore every possible path. But in the end, you always return to yourself. To the first fire. The fire that was lit when your soul was formed. And that has never gone out. No matter how many storms life has dragged you through. This is loyalty to the inner flame. The sixth gift, and one of the reasons why you cannot be lost. No matter who does or doesn't understand you. There may have been times when you lost your way. You worked in a job others called secure. You lived in a way society deemed normal. You tried to fit into molds just to be accepted, loved, or feel safe. But then, one ordinary day, you realized you were no longer yourself. And you paused. Looked in the mirror. And saw the light in your eyes begin to fade. Those moments, they're not failures. They're gentle reminders from the flame inside you. A quiet signal, come home. You can change your environment. You can change your faith. You can redefine success. But there's one thing you will never betray. The feeling of living true. The feeling of your heart racing because you're doing something you love. The feeling of your soul blooming because you're living something meaningful. And without that feeling, even if you have everything, it still means nothing. That's what sets you apart. Many people are willing to sacrifice their truest self in exchange for comfort. But you don't. Because you know. There is something more important than success, fame, or love. It's the integrity of your soul. The great lesson of this gift is, you will always be guided. If you are quiet enough to listen to the fire within. Not the fire of ego. Not the demands of the self. But the fire of truth, of inspiration, of something greater than you. It's not loud. But it will always whisper. And when you return to it, everything begins to clear. Doors that once closed, open again. People who left, return. Dreams you abandoned find new breath. It's not magic. It's alignment. Universal harmony, when you live in full alignment with yourself. Do you remember the last time you truly felt on fire? Not for work, money, or achievement, but because you felt fully, authentically alive? Remember that moment. Write it down. And if you feel moved, write in the comments, I am loyal to the flame of my soul. That is a sacred vow. Not to others, but to yourself. Because that very loyalty has saved you so many times. It's why you're still standing. It's why you can always begin again, even from nothing. And because you've kept that flame alive, you're now ready to step into the final gift. A gift few are ready to hold. A gift that doesn't belong to the material world or to achievement, but to a higher plane of consciousness. A full expansion of awareness. A profound awakening of the soul. That is, the awakening of expanded consciousness. And dear one, let me tell you about it in this final chapter, where you'll understand why all the previous gifts have led you here. At some point in your journey, you'll realize you no longer need to move faster, do more, or prove anything. You only need to remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you knew long before life made you forget. Remember that your soul has always known the way home. And when you step into this final gift, the gift of expanded consciousness, you stop seeking outside. You begin to look within, and you see everything. You see clearly why you walked each path. Why you lost, why you wandered, why you wept. You no longer resent the crooked roads. You understand, it was those roads that taught you how to see, how to feel, how to live with truth. Maybe you haven't noticed, but when you've reached this level of awareness, you are no longer who you were. The way you see the world changes. The way you love changes. Even the way you stay silent changes. Because now, everything has depth. You no longer live on the surface of life. You live from your heart. For Sagittarius, this is never an instant awakening. It is the result of a long process of searching, falling, rising, and never stopping your trust in light. And now, you carry enough light. Not just to see for yourself, but to guide those who are still lost in the dark. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be an honest version of yourself. Even if you still carry scars, as long as you are true. And that alone already carries the power to heal. Expanded consciousness doesn't make you bigger. It brings you closer. More humble. More grateful. You no longer need everyone to understand you. You only need to live aligned with your own truth. That is the gift of the awakened. Someone who understands, you don't have to chase the world. You only have to touch your own soul. And when you touch your soul, you touch God. The universe. Something far greater than reason. I don't know where you are in your journey. Maybe you're still searching. Maybe you just fell. Maybe you're standing at a crossroads. But wherever you are, remember. Your flame has never gone out. And if you're reading this, hearing this, then perhaps, your soul is ready. Ready to live with a new level of awareness. Ready to become yourself, fully. Write one sentence in the comments if this has touched your heart. I am ready to live by the light of my soul. Not for anyone else to see, but for you to confirm to the universe. You have come home. And if these words meant something to you, share this light with a friend. They may not say it aloud, but they may be searching for what you've just found. You're not here by accident. You were chosen. You were sent, like an arrow of light. And now that you have awakened, live as one who has remembered who they are. No need to rush. No need to impress. Just walk with your heart. Because this world doesn't need someone better. It needs someone real. And you. You are that light. A light like a lighthouse in the deep night. Not needing to be seen, but quietly, faithfully shining. The light this world has been waiting for.